Zen Rose Garden behind the scene. This is part of our mediumship development training. We're talking about the stage of grief called acceptance and a new stage that you didn't know existed.
We're going to change it up a little.
Absolutely. This is a follow-up video for our actual training video dealing with grief and loss as a medium like a pro. You can find the full list of that the playlist link down below.
You're just getting to know us. I'm Heather.
And I'm David.
I'm ZenRoseGarden.com. In order to find your tribe, you have to stop following the herd, start thinking for yourself, and looking deeper to crack the code. So it is time to tag up for all the Zen heads. I see you gangsters are already tagging up the wall, and that's what we love to see. For all our Zen heads in Zen Ed Academy, let us know you're here with the hashtag ZenHead4Life.
If you're watching live, give us a hashtag live tribe.
Yes, and if you're watching on the replay, give us a hashtag replay fam. This video is our wrap-up video for this particular YouTube playlist on grief and mediums. This is lucky number 7.
Yep, today we're talking about the 5th and traditionally the last stage of grief, the acceptance stage.
But first, we want to know, if you have lost someone, what did it feel like when you finally got to that place of peace?
Have you gotten there yet?
Right.
So acceptance is sort of like a return to reality. So let us know in the comments if you've gotten to that state of peace. I know that I have. When it came to my brother, it took me about 10 years, honestly, because I didn't know this process. I didn't know how to grieve. I didn't know what all that was for or how to do it, how to navigate it. So it took me 10 years on my own without any other external help to get through it. But once I got to that state of peace, it was absolutely amazing. The sky opened up. I could start seeing things again, seeing things in life. I could start integrating and functioning in life again, and started feeling again. So for 10 years, I went through like a numb phase where all of life, I was just going through the motions and nothing felt real, until finally I came to a state of peace with my brother, where he is now. And we built that relationship.
So acceptance is sort of like a return to reality, when emotions have been processed and you are able to see life without your loved one as possible and joyful.
Right.
And this is when we finally gain the strength to pick up and go on with life.
And it's not the state of not just being able to go on, but to be able to go on now with purpose and joy. It's kind of like the lights come back on, everything becomes more alive again, and you actually start to live. This stage is actually pretty simple once we get through the heaviness of the other stages.
So we may have done something to solidify this stage, such as taking up a hobby of some kind that is totally unique to you. It could be something that you always wanted to do, but you held off on, that kind of thing. Something that separates a new, that creates a new, separate, healthy dynamic that's different from the relationship you had with the loved one. So sometimes people do that to kind of get to the acceptance stage, to smooth the road.
Yes. So now we want to talk about what I think is the hidden stage of grief. This is the secret one that we were saving for now. And we call this the unpacking stage. It is the after party of grief.
So credit where credit is due. Our friend Crystal took us to lunch right after my dad passed away earlier this year. And she said something to me that I kind of want to add as this 6th stage of grief. So credit where credit is due.
Cristal Fuentes.
And you got to say it with an accent.
Cristal Fuentes.
I have I'm half Mexican, and I have a terrible Mexican accent. So I'm not throwing shade.
You can't say that my accent is that bad.
You're actually better at it than I am. I'm better at an Irish accent than David, and he's better than a Mexican accent. He said to me, I think that when a father dies, there is so much unpacking to do for a very long time. And this got the wheels spinning for me, because I think once we get to the traditional acceptance stage, we think we can just put a bow on it and it's done. And she got me to thinking about the stages of grief in a new way, because I think this is a really valid stage. It's kind of like an addendum to the traditional 5 stages, right?
Now, don't get us wrong. The unpacking stage is not a typical deep sorrow stage, right? You've already gotten to acceptance and that peace that lives there, but there's going to be years of unpacking as you go. And
not just to figure out who you are without the person,
which is the acceptance journey, right? That's what the acceptance journey is all about. But also figuring out who you are because of the person. Okay.
Right. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. That's the difference. The acceptance stage, we're figuring out who we are without the person. The unpacking phase is figuring out who you are because of the person.
Right.
And that could be what you've learned, good or bad, right? So unpacking is not the same as acceptance. It's kind of an active shedding and growing stage.
It's the after party evolution stage.
Right. So when you get to acceptance, you just know it.
It's an amazing feeling,
right.
I'll tell you.
The sun is shining, the tank is clean.
The tank is clean.
Right. And then you go along your merry way. And one day a layer comes up from the deep that you may not have anticipated.
And it's not a sadness, it's a decision.
It's something more active. So it's like, okay, here's what it's like. It's like when you find a box in the closet that you have just kept moving with you from house to house, but it's that box you never seem to unpack.
So you decide today's the day. Let's unpack it.
Right. So the unpacking itself brings up all kinds of questions.
What would I do now is a truer version of myself that I may not have been able to do before.
Or maybe I've been doing something my whole life that felt good at the time, but now can I choose to let that thing go?
Or can I choose to evolve it somehow in a new way that fits better? Because you've got an entire new life dynamic without this individual here physically in the present world with you, right? So you've got to create an entire new construct. So maybe these old things that you've been doing, they may not fit anymore, or they may just need to be evolved.
So I was thinking about this last weekend because a lot of you know that we've just wrapped up a 2-week-long family reunion. So our schedule's been a little chaotic. But this past weekend, we decided that we would make some enchiladas, which is our family recipe. So my brother came over and he taught us this recipe when we were all kids. And we've all grown up and had our families. My dad.
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, Jeremy, our long lost brother, has never had the family enchiladas. Let's make them for the family reunion. So he came to my house, my brother Alex, 2 different brothers I'm talking about, old brother, new brother. And we made the enchiladas. And I said, isn't it interesting how we all make them a little bit different than the family traditional recipe? Like the basics are the same, they're kept to, but then we all have a little bit of a different way. Same thing with how we make our salsa, but they all came from the one place.
Right.
And then I thought it was very interesting seeing how that evolves and changes. And we all have our different spin on what we were once taught by the loved one.
Yeah. So the unpacking stage is an opportunity to evolve as well as an opportunity to improve. So you've got the base recipe, the base thing, the base construct that was created with this individual. And over time, you evolve, you change, you adapt, you put your own special spice into it and make it your own. Right. And that's kind of the best part about when you're done with the acceptance stage, when you're into this evolution stage.
I thought the enchilada experiment was really interesting because when I brought them to the party, I have 7 siblings that I know of. Okay. Because they keep popping up from Europe. But there's 8 of us all together.
Right.
And it was interesting to see some of my siblings say, I never make those. I didn't, they kind of, I don't make them. I don't really like them that much. So we all some of us don't even make them. Some of them make them all the time. So it kind of depends. We've all chosen what we wanted and what we didn't want.
Right.
Of course, you know that I'm talking about stuff that's way deeper than just a family recipe.
It might be a process of throwing things out completely, right? Like she's talking about her siblings that just don't make it anymore because now they can, right? Or just changing it and improving something that the loved one left you.
And so often these things do not even come to light until the parent or your loved one is gone. Sometimes it's just you keep doing it because you do it, and then suddenly they're gone, and it's an opportunity to reassess. So we're not necessarily talking about releasing dysfunctional things here.
Right. So it's a new relationship, a new dynamic. And sometimes those things don't come to light, like Heather said, until that relationship is physically gone. The mechanics of what held the old relationship together are no longer valid for your life.
So, and if you have grieved, right? If you've gone through all these stages of grief we've been talking about in this series, you have released those mechanics,
right?
The mechanics that held the old relationship together. You just now have to see what they change into.
Because if you're holding tightly to those mechanics, then you haven't fully grieved. You're not done yet.
So it's a tricky place to analyze sometimes for yourself. In all relationships, we become a new person,
Mhm.
right? We change certain things to create a new relationship. And I'm not talking about the codependent
Mhm.
way that we change when it's not healthy, but not
Right.
in codependence in that respect, but in a love and respect for each other. You to see what you're
Yes.
creating together in a new way.
And I think this is great because Nima says she's revamping her life. And I think that's perfect because when we're talking about the grieving process, we're not just talking about a physical death, even though most of the time that's been the construct that we've been using. But this can happen when you change a job, when you change a relationship. You're basically finding out who you are without this old identity.
Well, yeah, it's true. My deepest grief that I've ever gone through was my divorce of 18 years.
Right.
And that was a 2-year process for me, really heavy. And even now it's 13 years later and I'm unpacking those layers.
Mm.
So, finding those things that I've done non-consciously and still unpacking the boxes that I find in the closet.
Yep.
Right. So I think we all go through this.
And throwing some of them away.
And throwing some of them away and saying, no, I think I like that. It's kind of
keeping someone evolving. Right. So keeping a finger on the pulse of where a client is can help you to stay aware of the subtle nuances of how this unpacking stage is showing up. If you know the roadmap, you will see how to support your client towards growth.
So for instance, if you are a healing medium, your client may be having an identity crisis of some kind, like coming to grips, oh my gosh, what do I do with this box? We're in the middle where they might be in the middle of unpacking their box and just need some help navigating into an authentic version of themselves.
Right. And if you're a message medium, guidance and messages from spirit can be really different in different stages. So in the unpacking stage, loved ones may deliver messages of encouragement and acceptance, cheering them on for their journey of self-realization and self-actualization.
So in our work together at ZRG, we generally call this the expansion phase,
Right.
as the client begins to use their unique abilities to really bring dreams to life that are unique to them in their personal life path, because life isn't a destination, it's a journey. We continue to evolve.
One hell of a journey. So know the roadmap and follow the energy in a loving, compassionate, and really joyful way. Okay. And be sure to watch the playlist below that includes actual techniques for handling grief and loss as a medium like a pro.
We will be back to chop it up with our hashtag YouTube fam always, faster than 2 shakes of a unicorn's tail after he's pooped rainbow frosting on your carpet.
If you like this video, hit that like button for more live hangouts, behind the scenes secrets, and mind hacking pro tips.
Be sure to subscribe.
And click that bell right down there to turn notifications on.
So you're the first to know
when we drop a new video, drop a new video, or go live. And I know that time is a valuable and precious resource. And the fact that you guys have chosen to spend that with us, we appreciate that.
Okay, you took my go live.
Okay,
I did. I took your thing.
I did.
You hesitated.
You fucked it up. No, I did not.
I was giving it. Get in on it.
Dramatic pause.
It was not dramatic pause.
It was dramatic pause. And I was doing other shit. The fact that you guys have chosen to spend the time with us, we appreciate that. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video over here or over here.
We'll see you in the next video.
All right. Enjoy your day. Make it memorable.
Oh my God. Here to help.